This is the 11th generation Honda Civic, a Japanese car whose Euro-inspired design is admired by the Americans, while we in Europe get a seemingly American version, and I don't really even know who the Civic is for today. Keep on watching while I try to untie this Gordian knot. This episode is brought to you by Carvago. Be smart. Choose your car online with Carvago. This is where I have to apologize to the Honda fanboys because I had no idea what the Americans had in mind talking about the Euro-inspired design. Thanks to my Turkish viewer Mert, I realized the Euro Civic is probably the 6th gen liftback, which was also available as the Rover 400. At least that's what the Euro Civic is in Turkey, because some Kiwi sites call the 9th gen Euro Civic as well. If you know otherwise, the comment section is under the video. Knock yourself out. I'm always eager to learn something new. Anyway, the Americans got the European-looking liftback with another important European attribute, a manual transmission. So, over there it's a car aimed at the enthusiasts who will appreciate the increased body rigidity and resulting improved handling as they spin their VTECs on winding canyon roads and enjoy being able to shift gears themselves. In Europe, the Honda Civic is an EHEV. That's the hybrid powertrain we know from the Jazz or the HRV, among others. It's a very good hybrid system in which the car is either propelled by an electric motor, the energy for which is generated by an internal combustion engine, or the energy is recouped during coasting and braking, or the internal combustion engine drives the car by itself, possibly with some assistance of the electric motor under hard acceleration. More on performance in a moment, when we hit the road. The designers talk about clean form, joy, a fresh start to the day, and I see a continuation of softening of the Civic. The 8th generation was very futuristic in terms of design and was polarizing, but since then Honda has been trying to make the Civic more palatable to the target group. If you don't choose the Type R, you won't disgust your neighbors. The Civic is now marginally longer than its predecessor. It has a longer wheelbase, it's virtually the same width, but the A-pillar has been moved back and the rear part of the hood has been lowered to emphasize the stance and to make the wheels appear larger. By the way, the 11th gen Civic is also a few centimeters lower than the 10th generation model.
Looking for a car for family, fun or work? Carvago.com is the place for you. Carvago is a modern platform with vetted cars from all over Europe. You can buy a car from the comfort of your home and Carvago will deliver it to your doorstep. Carvago.com features more than 700,000 cars from vetted dealers across Europe. You select a car on Carvago. Carvago sends out its experts and presents you with Car Audit, a full report on the actual condition of the car. Car Audit keeps track of 270 technical points, includes photos as well as final evaluation by a Carvago certified technician. Next, you simply select financing and delivery options, you sign a deal with Carvago, and Carvago buys the vetted car for you. You have 14 days after delivery to test drive and return the car without giving a reason. The price also includes up to 12 months warranty depending on the region. So, what's your car from Carvago going to be like?
Speaking of lower, you don't so much sit behind the wheel as you fall in behind it. It's been a long time since I sat so low in any new car. This footstool I'm sitting on is 42 centimeters high, and that's about 2 centimeters lower than the thigh support in the Civic and about 2 centimeters higher than the thigh support in my Mazda MX-5. And of course, the lowest point of the seat in both cars is about 5 centimeters lower, but we're talking about the highest measurement from the ground on which the car stands. And I'm telling you this because getting in and out of the Civic is more difficult than in many other hatchbacks, not to mention trendy crossovers. So it's more of a car for young enthusiasts rather than older people looking simply for Japanese quality and reliability.
Other than that, the position behind the wheel is good for me and for Anna.
The seats are comfortable, the adjustment range is wide, the seat can be raised, but of course, low position behind the wheel may be an advantage for some. The electric seat adjustment is available only on the highest trim, with the driver's seat having a greater range of adjustment than the passenger seat. Lumbar support adjustment in the driver's seat is on every trim, but the passenger gets lumbar support adjustment only on the top trim. Behind the wheel I can see again the cleanup process from several previous generations of the Civics. The instruments are easy to read, 2/3 are digital, and the speedometer remained analog. This is the middle sport trim. The fully digital instrument cluster is only on the top advanced trim. Now, there are buttons on the steering wheel for the radio, for the cruise control, and all that stuff. The up and down toggles could have a bit more travel, in my opinion, but it's a matter of getting used to. I like the air vents hidden behind a honeycomb motif that runs the entire width of the cockpit. It's better than piano black, right? The interior gives the impression of solid build quality. The infotainment system display is on top of the dash within the driver's line of sight. It's a touchscreen, but the volume knob as well as home and back buttons have returned. The display itself is mainly for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, unless of course you want to watch the visualization of the hybrid system's performance or use the subpar OEM navigation. CarPlay is wireless, Android Auto is wired. Lower down are the physical knobs and buttons for the climate control. Heated seats up front are standard regardless of the trim. Heated steering wheel is only on the highest spec model. The seat heating remains in the same setting even after restarting the car, but the automatic climate control struggles keeping the interior warm. Considering the temperature difference at this time of the year, I shouldn't have to crank the interior temperature up to 22 degrees. Further, there are 2 USB-A ports and a wireless charger, drink holders, sizable storage compartment under the armrest, and a smallish glove box. The door pockets are okay. And here too, Honda decided to go back to what's tried and simple. No more shelf under the console and leading cables to the charger, or no more deep armrest, where even a thermos could fit. Unfortunately, Honda also decided to rummage through its parts bin and choose an armrest from the CR-V with edges that you can feel with your elbow. It can hurt when you prop yourself up too hard. I'll start with the performance, because in my review of the 10th generation Honda Civic I said that for 8.5 seconds from 0 to 100 km/h the car doesn't seem fast, and it seems that some of my viewers missed the doesn't seem part, and they understood that I must have said that the Civic is slow. Now, to prove their point, they linked to some dealer doing speed runs and proving that the car was actually a second quicker from 0 to 100 km/h. The 11th generation Civic, powered by a 2-liter petrol engine with an i-MMD hybrid system, has claimed 0 to 100 km/h time of between 7.8 and 8.1 seconds, depending on the trim. The more gadgets, the heavier and slower the car. This mid-level sport version should accelerate from 0 to 100 km/h in 7.9 seconds. I checked. In normal mode, I managed 8.2 seconds. In many cars, fractions of a second like this are unfortunately the norm. But then I measured the acceleration in sport mode and found that the Honda is indeed faster than it looks. A few years ago, 7.15 seconds would be the hot hatch territory. Okay, we've got the numbers out of the way, but how does it feel? Well, in normal mode, the continuously variable transmission simulates gear changes. On top of that, the active sound control sound composer does a pretty good job of faking noises of a car with automatic transmission. In sport mode, there is more of that rubber band effect, meaning the revs are high most of the time, but they feel disconnected from acceleration. I'm not a fan, but I understand the physics behind the CVT enough to accept that the fastest and most efficient way of combining optimum gear ratios and optimum engine speed makes the car optimally effective. The CVT in the Honda is also engineered so that in fast corners it kind of holds revs, and it's possible to change the trajectory of the car by gently lifting off or adding gas. Now, I remember complaining about lack of such a feeling in the Toyota CHR. The hybrid system in the Honda Civic has a total output of 184 horsepower and 315 Nm of torque. These are diesel-like specs, and indeed, regardless of the sensation when racing from the lights, the Civic has enough oomph where it matters most, like when you're already driving but need to merge into traffic, maybe on a ramp on the motorway. In general, comparing the hybrid system in the Honda and Toyota, I think the one in the Honda is designed more for dynamic driving, which doesn't stop you from getting good fuel economy results. Honda claims around 5 liters per 100 kilometers combined, and it is achievable. In the city you can do a bit better, on the motorway considerably worse. Keep this in mind because the fuel tank has shrunken from an already modest 46 liters to 40 liters, and that's how much city cars used to have back in the day. Also, beware, Honda Civic used to be able to do more than 200 kilometers per hour. The current generation has a top speed limited to 180 kilometers per hour. Not a grand tourer then. During fast driving, poor soundproofing will be an issue, and it's not even about the wind noise or the sound of the engine, but about noise from under the car. Now, I'm not sure whether it's tire noise or road noise in general or whatever, just poor soundproofing under the car, but it's been a while since I had to turn up the volume of podcasts played from, say, 70 kilometers per hour upwards. Honda promises more body rigidity, but if it were up to me, I'd say bugger that and improve the suspension. I'd like more engagement without being thrown around on bumps. So just do the suspension, guys. Rear visibility has improved, and that's a good thing because the blind spot monitoring system is overactive and comes on even when you turn 90 degrees at a junction. So after a while, you just start ignoring the warnings. Adaptive cruise control and lane keeping assist work properly. The traffic sign recognition system mostly fails to recognize the signs. Honda says the space in the rear is the biggest in a Civic so far, but for me I see no major changes. Still plenty of legroom, okay headroom. The door pockets are fine as well. There is an armrest with cup holders, but it still drops too low to lean against it comfortably. Instead of heated seats, they are gone completely, there are 2 USB ports. There are still air vents, and the backrest still splits 60/40. The 415-liter trunk is larger or smaller depending on the equipment version of the 10th generation Civic you're comparing it to. When the backrests are folded down, the hump still remains, there is still one shopping bag hook, the 12-volt outlet has been moved from the left to the right side, there still remains a spare wheel well of sorts under the floor, the tire repair kit lives behind the carpet on the side. As in the previous generation, here too the cargo cover pulls across instead of lengthwise, but now it is attached only on one side. I agree, switching from side to side probably cost too much and nobody really used it. Prices for the 11th generation Honda Civic started €31,900 for the Elegance trim. This test car is in sport trim and it costs €33,200. If the regular Civic were available in Europe with a manual transmission, then first of all, no one would buy the Type R anymore, and secondly, no one would buy this regular manual Civic, new at least. But all the manual dealer demo cars would have been sold in a flash, and they would have instantly gotten wings, here, wings like that, and probably some other modifications as well. And so we have a car for people who really don't want an SUV, a station wagon, a coupe, or a sedan, or even a normal hatchback. And this is the kind of people that the Civic is for today. And how do you like the new Honda Civic? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.